Why don't we have our own Joe Rogan? You had Joe Rogan, you purged him. Why don't you have your own Dave Rubin? You could have had him. Elon Musk, a man who's rescuing astronauts, a man who's got people playing chess that are paraplegics. He's got paraplegics playing chess with their mind and all that stuff. To literally have paraplegics use their mind so that they can speak and play chess and all of these things. And while he's working on Neuralink, which has paraplegics and quadriplegics playing chess with their minds, to me, Buckingham Palace will be occupied by Islamists in 20 years. That's pretty freaking bleak, but unless they are going to do something about it, I don't see a way around it. And then what happens when these new regimes and these new people who are not European, when they have nukes and a whole bunch of other things? We're starting to see, I think, what COVID really was about. It was to normalize, in some sense, masks. Because then you would have LARPing jihadists running all over campus and all over cities, using masks to hide their identity as they basically try to burn down the American system. But I would watch you on Fox with that blackboard, and I thought, this guy is half crazy, half brilliant, and half a showman. I think we're gonna have Danielle Smith, who's the premier of Western, like the Calgary part of Canada. Maybe Danielle Smith, who's running, Western Canada. Like, you just gotta try something different. I think Canada's in a very precarious position, and I don't know that they can survive another liberal government that will import all these people and not defend Native Canadians, et cetera, et cetera. We have video of Comey from a little while back.
He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time.
What he says there at the end, that, Trump didn't have the greatest people around him. He's got the bottom of the barrel. It's like, oh, Kash Patel, bottom of the barrel. Dan Bongino, bottom of the barrel. Tulsi Gabbard, bottom of the barrel. I think you're going to find out how deep the barrel is in the not-too-distant future, my friend, because he was walking the beach, randomly found a series of shells that were organized with the numbers 8647. Back in the day, the mafia literally used to throw people off the roof of the Empire State Building, the 86th floor. 86 also was a mafia term over the years because they used to go up to the, not to the World Trade Center, to the Empire State Building, and they would toss people off the 86th floor. But the other thing that the 86 came from was the 86th floor on the Empire State Building. And do you know what the 86th floor on the Empire State Building is? That's the observation floor. And that's where the mafia in the old days used to take guys that owed them some money and toss them off the roof of the Empire State Building. That is a fact. You can also check that on Grok. There's another mafia reference to this, which 86, it means 8 miles out. What was it? What do you say, 8 miles out? 6 feet down, in terms of if you're dropping off a body, you need that body to sink. 8 miles out, 6 feet down, a little cement. You get where we're going with all. So anyway, look, they're just all awful. And by the way, the guy who's going to be sworn in about 2.5 weeks in New York City, Zorhan Mamdani, or as we like to call him, Moron Zamboni. We had a little delay here. What happened? That your father's cousin is not your aunt. That's your second cousin. That's how it works, right? I don't even want to explain all this. You get it. What is this guy who moved to America? And when did he move to America? In 2018 or something? Right? Like, or he moved when he was 7, but like, it's just, it doesn't even matter. He wants to take over rent control from private people who are renting apartments. All of our ancestors fled highly controlled communist societies to come to. Like, as I always say, think about your grandparents, think about your grandparents. It doesn't matter where you are from. Someone in your family came to America with almost without exclusion because they were fleeing the ideas of communism or socialism or Marxism. Can someone point out in the 2 years since Roe v. Wade has been reversed, anyone that didn't get an abortion that wanted one? Isn't it funny you haven't heard one story about that? We were told that there's gonna be, all these young girls with wire hangers in the back alleys somewhere being, bludgeoned to death while they get rid of the baby for healthcare purposes. Incredibly, here is a man, his name is Ahmed Al-Ahmed. He is a 43-year-old fruit stand owner, and he disarmed one of the terrorists. And his name sounds like he's Muslim. It turns out he's a Maronite Christian, actually, from Lebanon. And you can make of that what you will. A guy by the name of Dan Bermawi, who I think is an ex-Muslim author. He's quite good on X if you don't follow him. He wrote this: "Today's Islamic terrorist attack was stopped by a human being who happened to be Muslim." Now, it turns out that this man is not Muslim. As I said, he's a Lebanese Maronite. An important point, regardless, now it turns out the guy who saved them was not Muslim. So we're getting some stuff on the fly here. Now there is some confusion as to whether he was Muslim or a Maronite Christian, the man who saved. Again, it actually doesn't matter. So were the Nazis really on the right? If the spectrum is basically left is control and right is freedom, that's the best way I can lay it out for you. The further right you go means, to me, the less government you want, the less control you want, the more you believe in the individual. Right? That's why it's so funny when they call us all far right. Oh my God, I'm so far right. I'm so into freedom. The left is what wants control, but eventually those things kind of come around. I hope that made sense. We should dive into that a little bit more. What I was getting sick of was I thought that NBA on TNT was one of the best shows on television for 20 years. Funny, irreverent, like all the stuff.
They're great guys.
Just what I wanted out of watching basketball. It's not too serious. It's all this stuff. And then it became about some of these guys who I love, you just did the free throw contest for Kenny Smith. Guys that I love, suddenly just only talking about racism. And I was like, just damn, I don't want to watch this anymore. So yes, it didn't affect the inside the court 48 minutes, but the other stuff started.
Well,
and that also could be because I'm a media guy too. So
you are a media guy, which is why I'm going to push back on you.
Yeah.
Because you know good and damn well it wasn't the whole show.
Yeah.
They might have had a segment in the show. You talking about basketball for an hour, and for 10 of those minutes, you talking about the racism.
I don't know
Come
about
on now.
10 minutes.
It wasn't. There was plenty of basketball talk, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Great work you're doing at Bulwark. A real solid place of journalism over there.
Well, we haven't taken any money from the Russians at the Bulwark, Piers. I don't know if you know this, but Dave took $400,000 per month.
I know you're making all your money from the Chinese Communist Party via TikTok. I get that.
And Dave is making his money from the Russians, right? We understand.
Dude, shut the fuck up, Piers.
So I wonder why Dave Rubin hasn't retired yet when he said 4 years ago he'd do so.
There's two things going on with Hegseth here that I think is really allowing him to shine right now. Is his decade-plus time at Fox News, where he is able, as a TV presenter, that's what he's been, and a talk show host, he's able to communicate these ideas clearly.
I will explain in 1 second. Let me go back to something that was said in the very beginning, that he spent more than 10 years at Fox News, and that's what qualifies him to be in this position that he wants to be in. I spent more than 10 years at Fox News. I don't think I'm qualified to run the DOD whatsoever based on my time at Fox News.
I said that was one of the things.
If you Well, I don't think that's even a remote qualification.
You acknowledge that there's been no starvation, correct?
No.
You don't acknowledge that?
I don't acknowledge that.
Where are the videos and images of the starving Gazans?
Well, I've seen a lot, but you would dismiss them all as fakes. The UN says there was starvation, but you guys don't believe a word the UN says. The other official bodies say there was starvation. You don't want to hear a word they say. Israel denies everything. You can say that no Gazan has starved at all. The reports by almost every official body say the opposite, but you don't believe them.
A lot of them look fat. They have fresh clothes
I've
and
seen
fresh
lots
haircuts.
of images of Palestinians looking hungry.
Yeah.
You see everything to the rhythm of, there's nothing to see here, Gov.
No.
Israel has done no wrong.
No.
Have they done any wrong?
I don't know how to conduct a war exactly,
Yeah,
but I know that if
It's not my question. Has the Israeli government done anything wrong in the way they prosecuted this war?
Not that I know of.
This war didn't start on October the 7th. This is a conflict that's been on for 7 decades.
In one of your videos, you shared a post by Elon Musk that the New York Times had been paid tens of millions of dollars in the past 5 years to the news outlet. I mean, this has been debunked. You use the words, so you wonder why they've lied about everything, referring to the New York Times, because the government was funding them. I mean, do you still stand by those claims? Even in your own video, you made an editor's note to say that the total was far less. Would you concede on that?
I'm not totally sure of the video you're talking about.
I saw this one yesterday, and I had to read this to you because it's all being exposed. You gotta love it, people. From Ian Miles Chung on the Twitter. Elon retweeted it. The U.S. government gave the New York Times tens of millions of dollars over just the past 5 years, despite paying relatively little money to the New York Times in years preceding 2021. So you wonder, why have they lied about everything? Because the government was funding it.
If our Western countries decide to commit hara-kiri, it'll be because they've done it to themselves. CNN lied about the Russia hoax. CNN lied about COVID. And by the way, when I say CNN, we can include MSNBC in this. We can include the New York Times in this.
How is it that on my show I didn't get these massive scandals wrong? Very fine people on both sides.
You publish things on your YouTube channel that are correct as well.
I believe in free market capitalism. I want there to be as much competition as possible. Competition would start kicking in. How do you afford a house? Well, one way you might want to do it is I would, if I was in charge of your country or mine, I would lower taxes for everybody. I would do a flat tax for everybody. Make sure so whether you're a billionaire or whether you make $100,000 or 75 grand, whatever it might be, you're gonna pay whatever the number is. We can all agree on the number. Let's say it's 10%. So I'm very bullish on the American economy and the ability for people who are making 50 grand, which is an awful lot of money, which by the way, if I had a flat tax, I wrote about this in my book, I would exempt people, say under 50. You can have some sort of buffer there. Let's deregulate, let's figure out where the fraud is, let's give people more of a chance. We can deregulate the banks so that they're willing to loan again. Would you be for a flat tax? Pick whatever the number is, 12% on
No, because it won't work. A flat tax obviously not going to work.
You think about a mafia movie. We're in the midst of rewatching Sopranos. What happens when you can't pay off your debts? A guy with a bat shows up to your house and he takes you out to East Rutherford. Nothing good has ever happened in East Rutherford. Now, the issue, of course, for us is that we have nukes and big weapons and an army. So that's the one thing that basically stops China from cashing in the debt. Problem that we have with China, putting aside the trade asymmetry that we're all seeing right now, is they own a ton of our debt. And if they were ever to call us in, guys, we'd like our cash now. Well, we can't pay it off because we're a debtor nation. That's what Trump is trying to solve right now, right? So they own our debt. And think about a mafia movie. You owe the guy money. How does the mafia get the money back? Well, the mafia's got guns. And if you had more guns than the mafia, then the mafia wouldn't be the mafia, right? They'd be a pretty shitty mafia if they lent out money and then they didn't have some sort of threat that they could put upon you to pay the money back. But it's like, if we still have the most weapons, if we've got the most nukes and the most powerful army and everything else, they kind of know they're never going to get paid back. But I've been saying this for years, and talking about the debt is not even a sexy thing for me to have to do. But think about it. If we as a country, if we just owe China an insane amount of money, trillions of dollars, because we keep borrowing on top of borrowing, and every year we get a budget coming in. Think about your own home's budget, or think about your business's budget or anything else. If you're always overspending, eventually the bank cuts you off. If tariffs are so bad, then why do they have them? So it might not be that tariffs are inherently horrible. Tariffs are horrible when you are on the receiving side of the bad end of the tariff.
But I think they're unconstitutional. They're a tax, and taxes have to originate in the House.
So let me ask you something. I know it's a little in the weeds, but if a tariff is a tax, is it a tax when he's just using it as a leverage point of negotiation, do you think? Or is it does it become a tax only when it's signed into law? In other words, if he's talking to China or to any other country and say, hey, we're going to tariff you, in essence, that's not a tax until it's put into law. He's using that as leverage. That's been the way I've seen it.
Well, actually, it becomes a law immediately upon him saying it and writing it down, because it's not even a law, though, because it never passes Congress. Congress never votes on it. But I'll give you an example. I had a guy come in the other day and he makes detergent in these little cardboard packages, and it's, biodegradable. He's avoiding plastic. And he also has a market for it. He was making it in China, but he wanted to make it here. But the only equipment he could buy, he had to buy from China to make it in America. So when he bought the equipment, remember when Trump said, I thought it was only a threat too, the 140% tariff on China? I thought that was a threat. That was actually a law for the week this guy bought his equipment. He paid 140% tax on his equipment that week, and then next week it was 80, and then next week it was 30. It's chaotic because you don't know what it is which week, but it's never a law. It's never passed by a law, and it is a tax. He's in American business. He paid the tax.
My general feeling is it seems to me we are getting fairer trade deals. So it was used as a point of leverage more than what they were doing with the tariffs specifically. But I sense you would disagree with that.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we've gained nothing from the tariffs. I mean, really zero. If you look at agreement after agreement after agreement, we have taxed Americans at rates that are unthinkable as compared to what it was a year ago. And we've got almost nothing in return for taxing ourselves, which is kind of ironic. We've got almost nothing in return. That is, these countries have not opened up their border, opened up trade with the United States any more than it was opening up already. And a lot of destruction, a lot of bad stuff is happening. You know, it's not an accident. The manufacturing is 7 months now. I've seen a decline in employment and everything else. It's not an accident what's happening to soybean farmers. All of this consequences. There's literally nothing good.
I used this analogy last week. You ever play Monopoly when you're a kid and you're playing Monopoly, you got a couple friends around the Monopoly board, and somehow the guy who's also the banker always has a little more cash than everybody. He can somehow buy all those hotels on Baltic Avenue and turn it into Atlantic Avenue. And then you start realizing, oh, every time I turn around or pee, this guy's taking a little cash. That's basically what's been happening here. And then what happens? Then you throw the board, you hit him with it, you force some of those hotels down his throat. We've all been there. That's what's been going on here. So unless you want Trump to do that to you, come to the table, people.
I also believe in some red tape. Like, I live in New York City. There's somebody renovating above us right now. I got a kid. You know what I mean? So it's like, I would like a little red tape to make sure they're just not hammering 24 hours a day.
Right.
We live on top of each other. You live in Texas. There's probably, you don't even see your neighbor. You could have a little less red tape.
Right. I completely agree. I got in a conversation about that a long time ago with Dave Rubin, where we were talking about regulations for construction sites, that you don't need inspectors. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the... Bro, they'll put the cancer in the kids' cereal.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
Like, if you don't regulate the food, they'll put anything in it.
Right. I mean, like someone like Dave Rubin, you know, I was getting his hate mail for years before I acknowledged the validity of it, right? Because he was a friend. But I mean, once the friendship, once the weakness of his ethical compass became obvious, you know, the friendship unraveled. But it took so long. I mean, then I look back on all the criticism I got for being Dave Rubin's friend, and I have to admit, the critics were right. I mean, all that hate mail was right.
Megan also has been a friend of mine for a long time. She seemingly has turned on me over this, in that she unfollowed me on Twitter a couple days ago, and is not responding to my texts. I don't care about any of that. I had friends before this. I did. When you choose not to go after Tucker because he's a friend, thought we were friends. Just, again, it does not matter. In some, like on the friendship level, it doesn't matter. I had friends before, I'll have them after. Look, I guess I'm not friends with Megan anymore. Okay, it's fine. Like it's fine. It's fine. When she unfollowed me on Twitter for 2 minutes, I was like, well, that kind of sucked. Like, what's going on here? And then I was just like, it's fine. It doesn't, none of this matters in that personal, like that doesn't matter to you. That doesn't matter to the culture war, right? And in a way, it doesn't matter to me. Again, I have friends.